think you bring up a really good question, and I missed the most important meeting, and I apologize because I do travel all over the country. My question then is, and we keep bringing up, who dropped the 6th Street route? Because it was presented by Mark up front in April. And we were going to come down 6th Street, which was evidently one of you four had promoted not going down 6th Street.
Wasn't me. I don't know where how we got discussed, but it was.
We must have had to justify dropping a 16 or 1,800 foot section for a 4,500 foot section that loops part of the town, uses no amps. And it's going to cost you another ton of money. No wonder you must have made that decision.
Well, I think that it was in the discussion that we had with these guys here as to boring through the stuff and anything from fiber optics to sewer to water to...
You know, I understand the boring, that's why you bore, so you don't get that split.
Well, sure.
I mean, that's the purpose of boring.
And that was...
Excuse me, but I mean, like in Des Moines, they got all kinds of wires, gas, everything, and they're boring all the time down there. I mean,
Sure.
they drop down low enough and bore it, and it's done.
And if you had
We
two
bored
choices,
down
would you
south
choose?
of town, it took, what, 2 months longer than it was supposed to, or something like that longer
It
than it was.
wasn't because of
But I'd rather bore down 6th Street than I would down the highway through town, and that was no problem. I mean, it worked. It did it.
And that's what I was saying. My recollection was it still took 2 months longer.
most of the boring delay going south of town was because he didn't have the railroad right away. I mean, he started on that late, it's absolutely right.
Part of it was where the old hotel was, and going underneath the railroad caused us problems as well.
Well, they didn't get the right of way to go under the railroad, so they weren't going to go under the railroad until they got it, and that was delayed.
But we also had problems going under the railroad because the cable kept collapsing.
I guess, does anybody see a problem with getting a quote to go down 6th Street? I mean, I don't understand why that would be an issue.
No, other than, my only issue is that we can get it done in time.
But do you risk not getting it done in time for $100,000?
I don't know.
I
What happens
talked-
to 12 acres if we don't get it done in time and we keep.
I just wonder what happened to 12 acres for their heat for the last 40 years.
I talked to the engineers on this project for at least an hour, more than an hour, and the engineers told me that they didn't look at 6th Street. They only looked at going around the north side of town. It wasn't an option in their book. And 5 seconds after I hung up, called Marlene and said I was a rabble rouser, I suppose. Exactly what they told you, I don't know. But then everything broke loose. I'm just saying, I'm just trying to tell the citizens when I start writing my editorials that we're spending a lot more money going around 4,500 feet than we could have 1,600 feet. It was the first thing on the project because I have the estimates that Mark had given us in April, and I don't know when it got dropped. And you know, I don't know why we're spending all this money. And I think it's a sell job by our engineers.
Well, I'm with you on that, John, because we talked about that earlier, that, you know, we save 50, 60,000 just by going, that just got less of feet. I understand boring, it costs us more, we don't know what true cost for boring, but I think it's an option that we need to take a lot stronger look at.
Well, the trenching is $7 to $9, and the boring's 12 to 15 bucks. That came from the engineers, and that kind of also came off of our project that went south of town.
Does that put in conduits?
I don't know. I know that
Does
it's
the
cheaper to
conduit-
pull the wire with conduit than without conduit, so,
Because the conduit would cost much more to put the conduit in.
right.
And we'd have to put conduit on the driveways and things like that, wouldn't it?
Yeah, all I know about the conduit is that it costs you more to put the conduit in, but they pull the wire cheaper.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
And also, you don't have to worry about the faults either with it in conduit. Because we switched ours to conduit out there at speed, because first it was just buried in a trench, and about 5 years later we had rock pushing through the wire. So then we got to dig it all up and then put it in conduit.
But yeah, it does make more sense. No doubt about that.
And with it in conduit, if you ever have to pull a new wire, you can pull it. Yeah.
But like we said, if you'd have done it first, the first time,
Yep.
you wouldn't have had
Yep.
to trench it. If you'd have bored it, you wouldn't have had to worry about the problem.
Yeah, we trenched it instead of, and if we'd have bored it, we'd have been done with it, so.
Hindsight's always better than foresight, but
Well, probably way over Mark's question, but I still question the fact that we couldn't bring them 12.5 for the winter. Because once you get the transformer to go down to whatever theirs is, it doesn't matter whether it's a 2400 or 110, 208 or whatever it is.
Basically,
12.5 is the same.
basically not, but you still, on 2400, you lose voltage drop when you're using high loads. When you don't have, when you got 12.5, 7200, you don't get that voltage drop. Plus, you don't get the voltage drop on the secondary side either.
Right.
It coordinates with high
And when they
side
get
and
the
low side.
voltage drop, don't you just go out to the substation and crank it up?
Because then we'd have too high voltage for everybody else and start burning stuff up. Just to accommodate them. That's kind of
That's
the trouble
what
we
the
had
problem
out
was
south of town. Yeah, Daryl knows that.
Right.
They were getting like 108 volts out there.
I'm fully aware of that problem.
Okay.
And we battled a little of that out of Cookies, and that's the reason we're pulling out our electric heater. But you get a lot of line loss when you go a long distance versus,
Right. And we're paying for the line loss.
Yeah.
How much voltage drop do they get at Twilight Acres right now?
I couldn't honestly tell you, because it varies quite a bit on the other loads and usages that you have in the rest of your town.
My point being, if we don't know what the voltage drop is, and we're concerned about voltage drop, is it that big of a concern?
Yeah. It is a concern, but, if you don't know what they are, because, I could go out there and take a voltage drop from up here to out there, and it could change in 15 minutes.
if it picks up loads along the way.
Right. And with the high voltage, you don't get near that voltage drop. So it's not as a concern with higher voltage as it is with our 2400.
What's the most voltage drop there's been?
Oh, we went from, like out CPS there, they were down to...
No, Twilight Acres. At Twilight Acres.
Oh, at Twilight Acres,
That's a lot closer.
yeah. I couldn't really tell you because I don't know that they've really complained or had any concern about voltage drop out there. I can't honestly say. They're 122.08 out there, and they probably went down to 114, 200. I don't know, if they don't let me know that they have a concern about it, I don't go out there and check
Check it.
voltages all over town just to make sure that we don't
Right.
have it,
questions?
Yeah, I guess my question is, can we rearrange things in time to get the project done? That would be my question.
We have material sitting here for most of this. Will we lose anything with the equipment that is purchased? Or will we still be able to use that futurely down the road? Plus
We
the
always
fact,
use the wire.
right,
I don't know about the switches, because that's the engineering deal on the switches.
okay. But we possibly could use those in the future?
Anything possible, yeah.
And with the increase in costs, we actually could save $1 or $2 just by
Right,
having them
because
sit
if we
here.
ever use them switches in the future, everything's gonna keep getting higher price, we all know that.
Yeah.
Well, you
Well, one
know,
of the problems we have is the engineers never looked at option one,
Correct.
but we're not bidding option one.
But we want to
Well,
get,
I assume they've got the bid, they're working on bid stuff now, right? And it really befuddles me because 10 years ago, and you were on the council at the same time, the same firm was here. And I think Mark was working with them, and tell me if this is a wrong statement, but they said you should start from your furthest load, your heaviest load furthest from the substation and work back to 12.5, which is actually what we did south of town. So, you know, if you take their philosophy, the last thing they would have done was run 4,500 feet out in no man's land and have no load, and they would have probably started cookies and went to
went to the shortest route, is what you're saying.
Huh?
With the shortest route, so they wouldn't have,
Yeah.
so no, you wouldn't have load cost.
What I can't understand is you bring up this, we can't come off of the 12.5 line by the Catholic Church, when that's what we plan to do when we put it in.
Well, to me, you're just isolating yourself, John.
I don't understand isolate.
You've got from there to the Catholic Church, it's gonna feed everything.
It's 200 amps. It'll feed 200
If it
amps.
goes down, it's 0 amps.
Well, I understand that.
That's what I'm trying to get away from. You got another way around it then.
We'll put in another line for the substation over to the Catholic Church.
Yeah, well, that's what we were
I
just
think
discussing.
originally we were gonna, I don't know if we did do that.
originally we were
talked
gonna have
about
two
that,
separate
didn't we?
conduits. I think originally we were gonna have two separate conduits done, it comes from the sub.
Do we have two sets? I don't remember if we just,
We just kinda.
did we just trench it in?
We talked about putting two lines in, I know that, I don't know what, we ever did it.
Do it
Never did.
because of the cost we didn't do it.
Because one time we talked about coming from the Catholic Church and going west or east, we
Right.
go around, we loop around town either
It
way.
doesn't mean we can't still do it, you know, say, I mean, I'll admit we screwed up, but we still gotta get it
Do you
done.
think it's too late to
I don't
see
know.
what the, if we get a bid on the board?
I don't know, I guess that'd be a question we'd have to ask somebody.
Do you have a bid on the trench from somebody?
That's what we have to do on the 11th,
The fifth.
the 5th.
So if you don't have a bid on the trench and you don't have a bid on the board, it seems like you're kind of sitting in the exact same place.
But the engineers are working on the other right now and giving them out to those people to work on the bids. Now, where, you know, I don't know, that's what I'm saying, can we get this done by the 5th? That's my question. Because then we have to have the bid letting on the 11th. This is our council meeting, and then we gotta get it done. I mean, that's, I know that blows your mind, you know, but I still, you know, this is the way it was brought to us from Twilight Acres, is they don't have any heat this winter unless we get this stuff.
Really, all we need to
We're not
do
enough to run the
The
whole
board.
place.
What?
all we need to
Because
do
of the way they reconfigured,
Everything else
they
is
were
fine.
grandfathered in all their old electrical, and once they started in on this, they had to put all that.
So if I reconfigure something in Cookies and I'm told to reconfigure it, I should expect the city to spend $150,000 to bring a line into there.
Oh, yeah, boy. All right, that's true.
That would be asinine for me to think that.
That would be very important.
Well, you know,
I'm not sure.
I guess that's-
Do it.
what we're saying for this, yeah, I don't know that would be that true for that, you know, I don't, similar to get
That
there.
just
They
seems
didn't,
like
they
a,
didn't reconfigure, they didn't do that
Part of that.
until after the city said they was gonna bring the 12.5 up to them, and then they reconfigured everything to set up this way,
Read it,
and
it's 36
then we got,
feet.
5 acres got stuck in a hole because the line's not being
I
put
don't know
in.
what the 36